You know something, Shane? I don't know of anybody that starts their shows right on time like me and you do. We always right on the money. Hi, everyone. Welcome in Mountaineer Fan Zone tonight with you here on Monday night. I'm Joey Foster. That over there is Mr. Shane. Shane, what's going on, man?
Not much. Trying to think about, you know, what's to come with this college football season, which is just, we're already into February. We're a week deep into February. Before we know it, we're going to have a spring game, and then there's going to be open season on the portal again. So there's going to be some bleeding and some wrenching of fists and gnashing of teeth. But based off of past performances, I guess you can predict, or analysts do, future performance. So, what to expect. And that's what we were talking about today, me and you, was Neil Brown's history. What has he done at Troy, at West Virginia, as an assistant coach at Kentucky and Texas Tech, and going back, he's a young guy. I mean, he was born in 1980, so he's not like, he's at the beginning of his coaching career. I
Right.
think I would say it, the first third of a career, much like Bobby Bowden was at West Virginia. So with that being said, tonight what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about some of the previous games he has coached. And I think that we only have seen a few sides of Neil Brown, and looking back at some tape, there are some things that surprised me. I thought he was more conservative, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah. So you're right to look at his past, because the past is always a great indicator
Hmm.
of what the future might hold. And so, West Virginia as a program, let's look at the program. Back in 2006, going into 2007, we returned a lot of production. We returned Pat White, Steve Slayton, Owen Smith, all those
Yeah.
big guys, right? So we had a lot of production returning, and we had a great year in 2007. Fast forward to 2012, we returned a lot of production from 2011. Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Stephen Bailey had a great season. I thought that would be a year that we would probably play for a national championship, but we kind of dropped out, kind of dropped down because playing our first Big 12 road trip schedule, proved to be proved to be harder than we thought, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Gino
And then
struggled that game.
right, then go back
Yeah.
to 28. Then you go to 2018. We returned a lot of production from 2016. We thought, okay, Will Greer, and Eli Jennings and all these guys, we are going to be a fantastic team. In 2018, we were a good team, but we dropped some games, and so we just couldn't get there. This year, I'm looking at returning production. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think's number one in the Big 12 returning production this year?
Oh my. As a team or just a player?
As a team. Number one
I would
team in
say
the Big
Texas.
12 with
I would
returning
say
production.
Texas Tech.
No, it's actually Oklahoma State
Oh,
returning
that's a good one.
79%. Yeah, they're returning 79% of their offense and 74% of their defense. This kind of surprises you as you get on through. So I'm going through it real quick. Um, so Colorado's number two, returning 69% of their offense, 76% of their defense. Utah number three, returning 75% of their offense, 70% of their defense. And then you go down, and TCU's number four, it's got returning 63% of their offense, 78% of their defense. And then you go down West Virginia. Now, West Virginia is number five in the Big 12, but number 24 in the nation as far as returning production, returning 70% overall, 89% of their offense, only 52% of their defense. Now,
So wait, what you just told me from that snippet of information, with West Virginia being 24 and being fifth in the Big 12, you're telling me that the Big 12 is the most stable conference in
without a
the
doubt,
USA, hands
without a
down.
doubt, But hands down, I mean, you got 5 teams in the top 25 that are in Big 12, and and so that's kind of unbelievable. The number one team in the country with returning production, Virginia Tech, returning
What?
90%, returning 95% of their offense and 77% of their defense.
I
Virginia
don't know
Tech's
if that's a good thing though.
pretty good last year. So Virginia Tech's a lot of big
Yeah.
loads. You hear a lot about Clemson and Miami and Florida State out of the ACC and Louisville as well and North Carolina. People might want to talk about Virginia Tech because this year could be a big year for Virginia Tech in the ACC. But yeah, so that returning production, I think it means a lot. So that if we look at the past and learn from it, okay, we could have a decent year. But like I say, we're number 5 in the Big 12 returning production. So Big 12 is going to be a gauntlet this year. It's going to be very
Oklahoma
tough.
State. That we every week we talk about it. Every week I say the same damn thing. That game will make or break. If West Virginia loses and they win the rest of their games, they're going to play those cats again. So better take care of them first time around, so you don't have to see them again. Have a less likely chance. But yeah,
Now,
Oklahoma State scares
if we
me.
look at that again, though, let's see something here. So Oklahoma State, we do play, right? They're returning number 1 production. The next one down, I got to go through the whole list here. It was Colorado. We do not play Colorado. Next one is Utah. We do not play Utah.
Nope.
And the next one is TCU. We do play TCU
at home.
Right, and then West Virginia. So the 2 teams that are returning a lot of production, Oklahoma State and TCU, only 2 of the top 5 are we going to play because we're one of the top 5. So we're only going to play 2 of them. So that can make out for a little bit easier schedule, knowing that we're not going to play all that returning production, especially for Utah and stuff and Colorado. That could mean something.
You mentioned Colorado, and I think their coaching staff was, even before the season ended, they were basically throwing their offensive line under the bus, saying they're going to be looking for some fresh blood. And, what percentage of that is self-inflicted gunshot wound? Are they literally saying, okay, we're going to have a turnover of 15% of our roster based off of we're going to be shopping? So, that comes into account. That's why, I mentioned with Virginia Tech, maybe that's not a great thing. Maybe they're just not doing a great job of shopping in transfer portal. But if kids aren't leaving, they're developing in the same program. I think that's a benefit. It's much like kids in Europe that don't have a long break, summer break. They don't lose that, and they retain that knowledge base. They don't start having to play catch up because they lose a lot of that, that information that they learned. So I think that's true in football with, the schemes, the offensive play calling, defensive play calling, and kind of like the pulse of what the coach, the program has, and but hey,
before we get too much further into this, I do want to let everybody know we got to cut this a little bit short tonight because Shane has something to do and I have something to do.
Yep.
So we're not going to be with you the full hour tonight. Apologize for that, but we do want to do a show because we appreciate all you guys that come in with us, Kelly, Timothy, all of you. We love you all.
Right.
Appreciate you being here.
We'll be here Thursday at 7. We're going to do an hour early on Thursday. It's a close up of basketball here in Western Pennsylvania, and my son plays high school basketball. So, hey, with that being said, let's talk about a little Mountaineer basketball. Good showing for the Mountaineers, but it's like win one, get some hope up, and then just crap the sheets and make the bed and start over, right?
It just seems like every week we got a player setting out, a big player setting out that's not playing for some reason or another. It seems like we can't field a full court team, with everybody healthy. or nobody in trouble in NCAA violations or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Just seems like we can't put a full team on the court. But yeah, I mean, I hope our basketball team can come to life here and start actually putting together a streak. Right? We can
Yeah,
win one.
that'd be
We can win one,
fantastic.
but we
Yeah,
can't.
there are a
You
one
know,
game streak.
one is a win, two is a streak. Come on, we need two in a row. We
Yeah,
need two
that's
in a row.
right. That's right, guys.
One thing
Yeah.
before we start, but when we were talking there before the show, though, you were looking up some interesting stuff about Neil Brown at Troy, so we could learn from his path and look
Yeah,
at his future.
that's great. Great prompting because I totally dropped the signal there because I forgot what I was going to say and I remember now. So, I had mentioned in the past on other shows that Neil Brown plays it safe, very vanilla, and I think that he is uh, has some pizzazz. I think he has some extra spices in the cabinet we haven't seen in his cookbook. So guys, looking back on tape, what stood out to me was I think 2018 Buffalo. They played Buffalo in the Sun Belt Championship when he was at Troy. He had it almost looked like, if I might be wrong, you look up the tape and tell me I'm wrong if you're a coach, but it looked like the old wing tee, you know, and he had some strange formations. Uh, they they won that game, but I think he is really going to be prepping and planning, and it's never too early to look at that first game, and I am very, very optimistic that he's going to make a game of it because looking
So
back at his, what's that?
he beat Buffalo in 2018, so I'm thinking that was had to be Lance Leipold at Buffalo in 2018. Am I right?
Yeah, let me look. Let me look here. Yeah, I think that was. It's just I need to go back here and look. They won 42-32 in the Dollar General Bowl. That was no that the Sun Belt last Sun Belt game they played Appalachian State and they lost. And then on the 22nd they played in the Dollar General Bowl against Buffalo. Yeah. So, that was where he kind of, and the pressure's kind of off when you're in the bowl game. You're going to
Right.
let everything fly. But that was refreshing. And going back, 2018, it was they started their season off with a loss at Troy against Boise State, a ranked team, and then they put a hurting on Florida A&M, and then they went to Lincoln, Nebraska. Okay, I would say, and Nebraska, even though they haven't done much lately, okay, they're shelved them their former selves. If you go back 50 years, let's just say maybe 75. Let's go back to like the end of the Army era when they had Army was 3 years where they had Heisman Trophy winners. Okay, so you got Army, and then you got like Alabama, they're in the 70s, and then you have Nebraska in the 90s. You had 80s. You had Miami, the U. Penn State was good then. Pitt was good in late 70s. But Nebraska is a story program. 94, 95, I think, are two of the best teams ever in college football. And they still hold a lot of clout. You had Troy, little old Troy, going in there and beating Nebraska at home. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a one-off. Neil Brown has done this. And you were mentioning that you think Pitt might have been that win for him last year. And it might have been. But the year before that, they beat LSU at LSU
Mm-hmm.
in 2017, guys. And then the year before that, who did they beat? They beat another stud. Well, they lost to Clemson by a touchdown at Clemson, which is a hard place to play, guys. So 2 out of 3 years, all 3 years competitive with a big major school. Okay, at
Right.
little old Troy. So fast forward. Now they've trusted the climb. They have knots in the ropes. They got their feet tucked on the bottom. A little bit of breath.
Mhm.
That last little bit, going to touch the bell. What's going to happen now? I mean, the climb, I mean, are they still climbing? I think they're just about there. If they ring that bell at the top of that rope, it's going to be against Penn State.
I think so too. Yeah, that would be a great win for the program. And we've learned from the past that West Virginia can beat Penn State, right? We've done it in the past several times. So we've also learned from the past now that Neil Brown has a history of beating a team that he's not supposed to beat, where he beat LSU, nearly beating Clemson, took down Nebraska, all those are at Troy. Now he comes to West Virginia. He doesn't have that signature win at West Virginia, unless you count the Pitt game last year and say, okay, that was a rivalry game, it was a big game. That could be a signature win. So we'll count that as a signature win for now. But this year, if he could get past Penn State, that would be learning from the past, in my opinion, from him, and learning from the past for the players about what they did wrong this past year and being able to do something. Let's see what Penn State's returning production is. Go ahead and talk. I'm going to try to look up Penn State's returning production.
Yeah, Penn State. I mentioned this on our.
They're actually 23rd in the nation, and we're 24th. They're returning 74% of their offense, 66% of their defense. So they're pretty good.
One caveat to that. They're getting a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. Okay, so you can't tell me there's not going to be some growing pains. Now, mind you, their defensive coordinator was a head coach at Indiana. Okay, and their offensive coordinator is experienced too. So these guys aren't just, guys that were wide receivers coaches that just stepped up and, got promoted. These guys are, I guess, promoted down, I guess, if you take a head coach and make him offensive coordinator. But I'll be very, very interested to see what the preseason polls are going to be. When do they come out? Like July 30th, last week of July, they have the Athlon. Remember when they had those ones with Pat White on the front, and there were like four different covers, and those were exciting times. And I'm thinking that's going to happen again. Now, there was talk about good old days. Your buddy Rich Rod. Guess what he was up to? Guess who he had over to his house? To Noel Devine's son.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And the article said, Rich Rodriguez comes full circle. I don't think that's quite the case, but I would love to see Devine 2.0 under Rich Rod. Yes, Rich Rod broke my heart. Okay. But he has, failed repeatedly at different stops. I want to see the redemption now. Okay. He's humbled, as the Iron Sheik would say, I humble you. And he was humbled. I want to see Rich Rod succeed, the second coming of Rich Rod. And I don't want him to come back to West Virginia. I just like to see him do well where he's at. It's always
well. That option read. The only thing about Rich Rod is that option read that he run, where you're just watching the end and just seeing which way the end goes, and the quarterback runs the opposite way. Everybody does that now.
That's
right. That's why it caught up with him. When he did that at West Virginia, nobody had ever seen it before. Nobody knew how to stop it. Now everybody knows how to stop it. So kind of humbled Rich Rod there. Yeah, but I still think he's a great offensive mind. So what's he got up his sleeve? And we all know Noel Devine's father kind of threw West Virginia under the bus because it didn't, his son didn't really get the team invite. So, but you know what? Maybe his son just needs to go to play for Rich Rod for a year, and then maybe he can move on up to Division I.
I don't think he'll come to West Virginia.
Maybe not. Maybe not after everything. But you never know. You never know.
maybe Pat McAfee could grease the skids. That's about the only thing you could have happen. Pac-Man and Pat, team up, make a phone call, old Noel. But I don't know, guys. It's interesting, very interesting. Let me look up. I had it up and I lost it. We had a couple in-state guys come to West Virginia here this week. Let me pull it back up again.
Yeah, we did have some visitations.
Now this kid's like a 3-star, 6'2", 195 pounds. From Birmingham, Alabama. Another. And then on Twitter, I think, or X we call it. I think Pat McAfee had a little bit of a comment on that. They also had a. Let me get back. I'll talk about the kid from Alabama, but I want to talk about this kid from West Virginia, this Atlee Cohen. I think he's from Lindsley School, and he visited West Virginia back in April, and I think he came back recently. But they also have this cat from Alabama, Brock Bradley. That sounds like a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Brock Bradley. It's like these kids, they come out to shoot, and they're like quarterback baby names, and they're like, that sounds good. Trip Fontaine. And if you're gonna call your kid Sassy something, he's gonna be a D-back, or a lockdown corner. You certain names, So I don't know. I guess Coach Allen is the one who's developing this relationship, and I don't know much about him, but that's the guy who's developing the relationship, making the calls, checking in on him. For the reports are he had fun, but he also I think he went to Florida State and to Texas A&M or another school before he went here to check things out. So I'll be interested to see exactly what happens. Nico's still in the chute, and he's a good quarterback. Are we going to get anybody? I mean, those like when Nico came out of Arizona, I was floored that West Virginia got him as a recruit.
Yeah, I was too.
He's a very high 3-star.
No, he was 4-star.
Do you think? Yeah, he's a 4-star. Yeah, that's right. Rivals had him as a 4-star. So I don't foresee anybody in the mix right now on paper that looks like they could beat him out, because Nico, I think, is the man in 2025.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think there's any doubt in that. I believe every Mountaineer fan knows that. I think everybody knows Nico's the guy for 2025.
Do you think there's a significant drop off? Like, for example, last year, Garrett Green went out with injury. Nico came in, won 2 games. I thought he was going to be the man going forward.
Not just win 2 games. He beat TCU and Texas Tech. So
yeah. What I mean, I was questioning Neil Brown's judgment bringing Garrett Green, who had struggled in the past, when you have the hot hand. But cooler heads prevailed. Garrett Green came in, played well, but you don't lose a whole lot from the 1 to the 2 at the quarterback position at West Virginia University in the 24-25 season.
Yeah, if you think back to, I guess one thing that comes to my mind was like when Pat White got hurt, Jarrett Brown came in. That was a big decline.
Right.
Jarrett Brown was a good quarterback in his own right, but it was a big decline from Pat White to Jarrett Brown. Same way with Geno Smith. If Geno Smith went down and got hurt, backup was just not there. And
Bernard got hurt against Louisville. But Pat came in and was like, wait a second. His throws weren't quite as good as Bernard's, but that extending the play and then just making those big 40-yard runs, I mean, that was game changing.
Right.
Bernard lost his job
and that's where Like if that's the only difference between Garrett Green and Nico. They're both great scrambling quarterbacks, but Garrett's probably a little faster, a little
Yeah.
shiftier,
Yeah.
and
Quicker.
stuff. That's the only difference
Yeah.
because I think Nico's a better passer, though. Honestly, I
I
think
do
Nico
too.
might
And
be a better passer.
I think leadership characteristics, they are tit for tat.
They are. They're the same. Yeah.
These guys, the offensive line is not, I mean, these guys look to both of these guys. And it's almost like, the way I think of Nico's like teams used to have a fullback that was always like witty, everybody liked them. The coaches liked them that smash, just, oh, you want me to hit that guy? Not that Nico's that guy to smash, but he's the guy that everybody kind of, hey, okay. Garrett Green is a lot like that too. Just will run his mouth a little bit, jaw, get kids hyped up, hold them accountable. Both of them won't hesitate to speak their mind from what I've seen. And I'm very excited this year to see if, not excited, but how can I say it? I'll just come right out with it. I'm concerned with the schedule at hand and the way Garrett Green, when they let him kind of do his thing, I think he's going to get hurt. Okay. And it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Here's what I think about when I think about Garrett Green. I see that heart and determination that Skylar Howard had. Remember Skylar Howard?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he could take over a game if he got mad and got in that zone. Remember him? I think it was Arizona State. We played Arizona State in a bowl game. Remember? I don't remember what bowl game that was, but we played Arizona State in a bowl game, 2015 or 16. Anyway, he took over that game because we weren't losing, but we just couldn't really get ahead. We couldn't get out ahead of Arizona State. And they were being physical. We were being physical. And I can remember Skylar Howard taking that ball and just taking off running down the field and just going straight into linebackers, and giving them a shoulder and running them over. He kind of took over the game. That's what Garrett Green can do. But in the same sense, Skylar Howard's a little bit bigger quarterback than Garrett Green. So you worry about him taking a hard hit like that. But yeah, I mean, he's got the same he's got the same kind of determination as Skylar Howard had, to where he don't want to lose no game. He'll take a game over if he has to. And I like what Tim Green says here. The Wolfman was big on Nico. The Wolfman was huge on Nico.
I'm big on Nico.
He was not big on Garrett Green. He liked Garrett Green, but he just said he was just a little short and couldn't see over the line. Nico's a lot taller, could see over the line. All true.
Pen to paper. If you had the kids lined up, and after those two games that Nico played, I was like, in my mind, Shane was thinking, all right, let's roll with this guy. Even if you lose a few games, it's developmental. He's going to be a stud. Okay? Let's keep putting gas in his tank and have him go. Move Garrett to 2. Give this kid a shot. Because I think we talk apples to apples a lot here. I mean, they were the same kind of apple,
They're both good. I think I think, like I say, Nico's a little bit better passer. Garrett Green's a lot better runner, but Nico has that same determination too, like Skylar Howard had that I talk about, that Garrett Green's got. They will take over a game. Either one of them can. I remember, and I'm sure we all remember watching the high school championship in Arizona, and Nico taking over that game, and he was sick as a dog, throwing up and everything else. But by gosh, he came back. What was it down? 3 touchdowns with like a couple of minutes to go in that game. And
I'm looking up what it was because it was amazing. I watched it. Was on ESPN. I watched Hamilton quarterback Nico.
Took that game over.
Took it over with 2 minutes left, and in 3 minutes he scored 18 points. And here's the thing, a lot of those plays he was hurt. I mean, they literally picked him up out of the pile a few times. His character, determination, off the scale, can't measure it. I mean, I think that gives him, and that's probably why the Wolfman dug this kid, because this kid would put his hands on the belt loop of an offensive guard and pat him on the ass and just ride that horse,
Yeah, he
and
would.
just say, just steer him. And that's old school football. And I think that's what, West Virginia gets when they have Nico. Garrett is a little flashier, a little more mouthy, as evident in our loss because of the penalty, shortened the kick. That's, guys, you have to, if you're going to take the shine, you're going to take the shinola, you're going to take the shit. And I give him the turd award for getting that penalty. Okay. Not to take your helmet off, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and West Virginia freaking won the freaking trophy that day for stupidity. Anyways, but Neil, to his credit, didn't really. Hopefully, he berated him in private, but he didn't say anything about it.
Oh, I'm sure he did. That was the
I hope
Houston
the hell
game,
he
right? Yeah.
chewed him a new ass. He actually should have got his ass sat for the next game. I mean, that's what I would have done, but I'm not making $4 million a year like Neil Brown is. So,
wish I was.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'd hire as an assistant.
So, like I was saying, we can't stay with you guys tonight. We really wanted to do a whole show, but we just got some things that we couldn't get out of. We got to do, and it's actually great that we both got to be busy tonight. So now we can have our Thursday night and our and then on Friday night I'm gonna do a Mountaineer live show, and Jordan Cruz is going to come on with me. Shane probably will come on too, and don't forget. Tuesday night is on the Big 12 channels, Clint Foster. Wednesday night's Frank Fear right here on the Mountaineer channel. So, but I really don't have much time for anything else tonight, and I apologize. Shane, do you have anything else?
No, watch us Thursday at 7 for the Big 12. Frank on the channel here at 8 on Wednesday, and we're gonna do the show. You're gonna do the show on Friday, so you'll have plenty of Shane and Joey to get you through the week.
Yeah, plenty of that. I promise you. We will be back, guys. We thank you so much for coming in. Apologize, can't stay with you tonight. Everyone have a great night. We will see you Thursday night at 7.
Yes, sir.